means the Congress of Racial Equality. It was a civil rights organization just as the NAACP. I led the state of Wisconsin delegation to the March on Washington. And we carried, I forget how many busloads to Washington, D.C. When we got to Washington, we were sent to various churches because of the situation back in that day. And after we made it to the church that we supposed to have gone to, the next day we went down to the March on Washington. That's when Dr. Martin Luther King gave the speech of his life, I Have a Dream. With so many European Americans showing up, that we had won. I just felt that this was it, and it was. If I recall correctly, there was 3 cities that sent buses to the March on Washington. The city of Milwaukee, which is the largest city in Wisconsin, Racine, and the capital city of Madison, Wisconsin. I think the people felt as if that it was time to get rid of Jim Crow. And it had been tried in other ways, but the March on Washington really ended all that nonsense.
Now tell me about that day when you started marching. What did you do? When you left the church, where'd you go and what did you do?
We joined together and we marched down to the place where they were going to have that big demonstration. And to see that crowd, it was remarkable. White, blacks, Hispanics, Jews, Gentiles, all of us was right there.
Let's talk a little bit more about CORE and the things CORE did with jobs and fair employment. Were you involved in the Bob's Big Boy picketing that CORE did?
If CORE got involved in it, I was in it. I was very, very active in the civil rights movement. I believe that God created us all equally. I don't think he's made some junk food, or junk people, or junk anything. Everything he made was perfect. I thought that we as a people had to stop sitting around waiting, thinking somebody else going to take care of you or create your jobs and all that other kind of stuff. We had to do it for ourselves.
Many of the people who will see this don't have a clue about what it took to get from Milwaukee to Washington, because today you just hit the interstates. But you couldn't do that then. How did you get there and what was the trip like?
It was long, tiresome, but jubilating. Because when we got to Virginia and saw all of those buses with all of the, as Dr. King would say, all the God children going to Washington. But one thing they're saying, Jim Crow, you dead. I never felt so good before in my life that I not only went, but I led my state delegation to the March on Washington. I believe that's the proudest thing that I ever done, the best thing I ever done in my life.
The I Have a Dream speech is the defining moment, and for you obviously it was one of the defining moments, but the march was about so much more than
it
that.
Was the beginning of where we should do. It was showing that the best way we could that we want our freedom. Now it was more than the march. Now, as I may be becoming redundant, but things changed because all of us changed. We became more aggressive and we became more diversified. We became more demanding.
Many of the people in looking at the march and going back were afraid that there would be violence that day. What was the atmosphere like with the crowd?
I was afraid that something was going to happen on that day. As I stated, I led my state representative. I didn't take my wife. And I'm not afraid of very much. But I didn't want to get my family out there with all that hate out there. Do you know how I feel that every time your phone rings 24 hours a day, there's somebody calling you a nigger, and you don't know who in the hell it is, so you can't go over there and whip their butts. But you had to sit back and hold yourself together. You gonna be dead if you go to Washington, nigger, and all that kind of stuff.
Did you get those threats in Milwaukee?
I'm talking about that's the threats I'm talking about, yes. I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about what happened somewhere else. I'm talking about what happened to me. I can't talk about what happened somewhere else. I'm talking about what happened to me in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Could you believe that? I was angry for a long time. Now I'm so happy. I seen football stadiums filled up in the Big Ten, the largest conferences in the world. But it couldn't hold the number of people that went to the March on Washington. That was gigantic. All of us showed up, and we did what we went to do. There was no violence. There was no throwing nothing around. We went in there and we went down the streets in Washington, D.C., dressed at our best. I'll say it again, I had on a Morehouse suit, Stacey Adams shoes, and no hat when I marched out in Washington. And I've never been so proud of being part of something like that.